Okay, so what is value stream mapping? Why is it important? And how is it done? So first of all, I would point out there's a link on this slide. I put up a slide share that provides in some detail how to use templates and different things that are available from my website and also on SlideShare give you some step-by-step instructions of how to do this. We don't have time to go through all of those details in this short webinar. So what is a value stream map, a VSM, emphasis on the word map? It's a tool, right? It's essentially just a simple, if you like, tool for visualizing value streams. What is a value stream? A value stream is nothing other than a series of steps. Each step is supposed to identify something that's adding value from one state to the end state. So this could be software development, where at the beginning you're trying to decide what you want to develop, and at the end you're delivering something in operating software that matches the requirement. So at every step in that value stream, you're adding some value. You're trying to make improvements along the way that ultimately result in a really good, well-engineered product. I didn't invent it, certainly. There's a long history between value stream, for value stream mapping methodologies. The concepts mostly were derived from lean engineering and lean manufacturing and business process engineering over the years. And more recently, it's been applied to DevOps and continuous delivery pipelines and things that are basically value streams. I will point out a book, not my book, Value Stream Mapping. This is, sorry, I can't see it, by Karen Martin and Mike Osterling. It's not really targeted to DevOps, by the way, but it can give you a lot of the background around value stream management and value stream, well, mostly value stream mapping. The book is about mapping, not so much about management, but they definitely relate, and you'll see that. A typical value stream for DevOps may have many steps. What you're seeing here is just an example. Backlog grooming, development of software, integration, delivery, deployment, operate. That's a simple, pretty generic looking value stream for a DevOps application pipeline. And believe me, there are many variations of that depending on your organization and what your application needs and all of that. This is my view of what I call the big picture blueprint for DevOps. If you ever looked at my book, you'd see that this is up front and center. There's lots of blueprints in the book, but this is the overall big picture blueprint. And at the heart of many DevOps systems, there's this thing called continuous integration and continuous delivery, which sometimes gets confused with continuous deployment, so CI/CD, which has the problem of integrating software changes, accomplishing a candidate software release artifacts, and then acceptance testing those artifacts, preparing them for deployment, and actually deploying them. So DevOps CI/CD really has to do with that center portion of this gray area. A value stream goes all the way out from planning through to operations. So value streams are actually a broader concept than a CI/CD or pipeline, but they're definitely related. An enterprise may have many of these. A small startup may only have one, but typical enterprises have, literally, the ones I work with have thousands of pipelines, especially if they've matured to the point where they have their applications partitioned into microservices. So you'd have a pipeline for every single microservice, and these could be very short, they could be long, whatever, but they're basically following steps like this. They're often, your specific may vary, but fundamentally there's planning, development with integration, creating artifacts, and then making sure that they're ready for delivery and deploying them to production. So that's if you like, a software value stream. There's a layer on top of that to keep track of metrics and orchestrate activities for the CI/CD. That's usually associated with technology, or at least an architecture layer in your process called application release automation. Some people call it application release orchestration, but it's really helping you automate your release processes. And a layer above that is value stream management. And again, this can be technology or procedures, but the modern way of doing it is to have some tools that keep track of the entire value stream and can orchestrate activities, whether they're people activities or processes or tech, other tools, but they're orchestrating activities across the value stream and providing analysis and insights to what's happening on these value streams. The cool thing about being at this level is they can do that for a whole portfolio of federated pipelines. Let's say you have a service that has many microservices, then a value stream management tool can give you insights and orchestrate the whole combination of value streams. Just to complete the discussion of this blueprint, I mean, all of these processes and procedures do depend on some real systems to work with, the hardware, the processors, memory, networking, and all of that. So underneath you have real infrastructure. With DevOps, you want to be able to serve it up ephemerally as a service or as code, no matter whether it's equipment in a data center or services that you're subscribing to through various cloud service providers. All of that is still the resources that need to be available in order for these processes to work. And then in the upper level, value stream management itself has purposes beyond just orchestrating processes, but the analytics and the orchestration can be used for governance policies, security policies that are more end-to-end, site reliability, which we don't have time to dive into here, and disaster recovery and other big picture things where value stream management can simplify that at an enterprise level or at a larger organization level than an individual CI/CD pipeline orchestrator can do. So that's kind of a big picture of how value stream management fits and value stream maps fit into a DevOps environment. So let's have a little survey question. I'll put up a survey question that I call one in my part of the presentation here. To what extent is your organization using value stream maps today? You don't know, just getting familiar, deciding to implement but not yet. Value stream mapping is being implemented but it's not in production, or it's in production, or we already decided not to use it. So I'm curious to see what people are here to learn. Give it a little bit of time. Okay, so most people, more than about half of the people, don't know. So that's interesting. It's good. This is good to help you learn what it is, and maybe you can find out, or just getting familiar with it. So presumably you have a purpose. So that's like 75% at least of the group. Those are probably the two most, I would say, great reasons for attending a session like this, to learn. And if you're already into value stream, maybe you think you already know, so that's fine, and you wouldn't attend as much. But great. So let's move on. I can move the slide. So why is value stream mapping important? One thing I would say right up front, there was a recent, actually yesterday, blog article I read that was referring to the most recent state of the DevOps report that Puppet and Dora and other people sponsor. It's a good report. It's been coming out every year for the last 10 years. And it talks about different, things about how DevOps is being adopted and used across, the world, basically. It's a pretty broad, audience that participates in that report. 10 years ago, something like 14% of the surveyed companies were working at a high level of effectiveness for DevOps, called high achievers, meaning that they were deploying software changes very quickly, measured in hours or minutes or hours, rather than days, weeks, or months, and that they had a very low failure rate. So those are the high achievers, and out of that group of high achievers, there was like 14% of the one surveyed. Then there was the low achievers, which were more like the opposite end of the spectrum. Their release cadence was more like every 6 months, and a lot of failures. And it was a fairly low number as well, like 10% at that time. And over the 10 years, they have improved. Now it's more like 18% high achievers and only 5% low achievers. But what's interesting about this is that means that there's a great bulk of people that are still in that, stuck in the middle, if you like, that are not really getting to high achieving level. Um, Maybe they don't feel they need to, but fundamentally, it doesn't inform very much about, how um, people are, getting stuck in the middle. And I would argue to say that part of the reason is they're not embracing methodologies like value stream mapping and value stream management, because that's a good way to, get a lot of more performance out of your value streams. And we're going to talk about how you do that. What value stream does is it gives you a very simple visual, so everybody, that has activities or interest in the value stream can understand how flow works for that value stream in their organization. It captures your current state if you have a current state value stream map. It can also be used as a what if tool to, visually play with the visual diagram. Say, well, what if we were to shorten this part or that part or introduce some tool here? What would that do to the value stream? So it can be used as a what if tool to project a future state value stream model against some goals. It applies really well to software delivery pipelines and DevOps. You can use it for many other things. Like I say, it's been used in lean manufacturing, automobile industry, and many other things. But applying it to software delivery pipelines and DevOps is very interesting because you're often trying to, use lean practices to reduce bottlenecks and deliver software faster at the same time safely. It also maps really well. Once you have a value stream map, it gives you guidance as to how to take advantage of some of the value stream management methodologies and tools and implementations. So there's a lot of good things that can come out of value stream management, value stream mapping. So how do you do it? I talk about a simple four-step process. I don't think you need to read the whole book to get this, but this is the idea. There's details in the book, and templates and so on to do this. But first of all, identify who's going to participate in a value stream mapping exercise. And usually these are the stakeholders, at least representatives of stakeholders in the value stream. In my consulting, I often encourage companies to pick a model application. Don't try to boil the ocean. Pick one that's representative, and I have a methodology for helping them pick that one. And then we do a really thorough value stream map of that. Who are the stakeholders involved? There's typically 15 to 20 people involved that are representing different parts of the value stream. Have an experienced leader or consultant like myself or somebody else that's familiar with the process to lead the effort. So that's the first step. The second step is to prepare. Don't just walk into a meeting and say, okay, well, now we're going to do a value stream map. It's going to be a waste of time for the most part. Instead, prepare. Tell everybody what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. Most importantly, have something you're going to analyze. You don't do value stream maps just without knowing what you're trying to analyze. You should go in there with a goal. What is it that you're trying to do? If you think about DevOps, there's actually, again, the State of the DevOps report talks about different categories of benefits, and I turn those into goals. There's agility, stability, efficiency, quality, satisfaction, security, stability, did I say? Yeah. So basically, there's all these different kinds of goals. Pick one or two that you're really interested in and do a value stream map around that. So a typical goal would be, we want to improve we want to improve our agility. We want to reduce the lead time measured from when our software changes are committed to our version management system or integration branch until it is deployed. We want that lead time to reduce from, let's say, 10 days to 5 days by, within 4 months. That now you've got a very concrete goal, right? It's not like, okay, we want to improve agility or we want to improve lead times. That's not a goal. It has to be measurable to be really, really good. So the first thing is to get agreement as to what the goal is, and then conduct a value stream management session with the right people around that very, very specific goal. And now you're going to have a really concrete, engineerable result that makes a lot of tangible sense. Conduct the workshop. Usually these are, if it's well prepared, there's something like 2 to 4 hours to get a current state value stream map. It's always exciting. Usually half the people walk into the room thinking, oh, this is kind of boring, probably not going to be interested. And then they get excited when they start to see the action happen when other people start contributing their part of the value stream information, and they realize, oh, I didn't know that. Wow, wow, and they start to learn from each other. So it's kind of interesting. It's always an interesting exercise if it's well prepared. And finally, document the results. And this is usually an expert or somebody that takes it all and puts it together into a really nice map. Um, there are different methods for doing this. Some people use like sticky notes on on a whiteboard or whatever. Um, that's hard. That's fine. I have a methodology that can be used remotely over, a web network or a webinar or a web meeting. Very simple, and it documents as it goes along. Different people have different tools and methods for doing it, but that's basically the process. Here's an example, and this is using the template that I have um, of an actual value stream map exercise. In this case, the client was trying to reduce the time from committing software changes to their integration environment to the point where it's being deployed to operations. They wanted to know, on average, it was taking something like 13 days and 5 hours. That was how we calculated it out. And they wanted to reduce it. I believe in this case, they wanted to get down to seven days. But I can't remember that part. Um, anyway, the idea is that you first of all decide on what is the set of steps, stages for your value stream. These are typically anywhere from like 6 to 15 stages. You try to map it out in series. Each stage is usually defined by a set of activities that have an output and an input, a defined output and an input. You then try to find out, how long on average. Usually these are averages, the time to process each stage, and any wait times between stages. Maybe you have to wait for approval before you go to the next stage, or maybe you have to get something like a test environment set up before you can go to the next stage. Whatever it is, you basically try to get the timings for each stage and the interstage timings. Also, it's good to collect some of the quality metrics, like what's the percent pass when something is moving from one stage to the next. What percent of the time is it passed through and accepted by the next stage, or the flip side is percent rejected. That's a good way to help analyze the source of quality issues or maybe security issues or other things that are coming in. While you do that, you then talk about, well, what are the contributing factors for each of these stages that are taking up time or affecting the quality, depending on what your goal is, right? This is not only for timing. You can apply this for other goals as well. Maybe your goal is to improve security, in which case you'd be talking about a lot of security issues here and how you can introduce security throughout the pipeline. Other types of goals, but usually it's often the lead time that you're looking at. You can also document things along the way on the same diagram, like your tools, infrastructure, and other things that are whatever is relevant depending on what your goal is. In this case, again, it was mostly timing. Actually, it was two cases. I believe it was timing as well as they didn't want to have quality suffer as they introduced some new things, so they were keeping track of that as well. Okay, so that's a value stream map. And this is the result, a current state value stream map resulting from a value stream mapping workshop. Okay, another survey question. Let me put it up here. What is your highest priority use case that you can imagine for value stream mapping, either your organization or in general, if you like? You don't know. Getting a value stream map that stakeholders can accept and use as a reference, identify lead times in our current end-to-end value stream, identify quality bottlenecks, identify bottlenecks for other things like efficiency, stability, security, or I don't see a compelling use case. Well, I'm glad to see nobody's choosing the last one. I don't know. It's a perfectly valid answer since you're here to learn. But it looks like most people are saying they want to get a map that people can have as a common reference and identify bottlenecks. Yeah, that's pretty typical, sure. But bear in mind, this fifth question is important. You can use value stream maps not only for bottlenecks, you can use them for identifying other things like quality issues, security, and things like even stability. There's a lot of ways you can use this tool of a value stream map. Okay, let's move on.